Dad, Mom is falling at the mouth and collapsed. Help!
Half an hour after I ate the cake that my husband had brought home to celebrate our anniversary, I found myself keeling over. Despite our daughter's desperate pleas for help, my husband responded indifferently. Don't worry, she'll be fine. He wore an uncanny smile as he said this, and leaving me in my struggle and our daughter in tears, he walked out. He must have gone to report to someone that this plan had worked out perfectly.
Mom, are you okay?
To our crying daughter left behind, I managed to respond, I'm alright, sweetheart, and slowly got back up. With a reassuring smile, I calmed her down. I knew it. In reality, I'm the one who had succeeded in the plan. They, who are oblivious to this fact, must now witness their impending hell. I am Mia, a 32-year-old office worker. I live with my 6-year-old daughter, Emma, and my husband, Brian, who is the same age. We used to live a happy life with my husband being a caring and doting father. However, about a year ago, his attitude towards me gradually became cold and indifferent. I agonized over whether I had done something to offend him, but I couldn't think of anything. You really haven't aged, haven't you? Well, you are a 32-year-old hag after all. That's harsh. You're the same age as me, you know? Your clothes and makeup are old-fashioned and uncool. Can't you dress up more like other people? I was baffled and hurt by his sudden and baseless criticism. He was not the kind of person who would say such insensitive things. At least, he hadn't been. Back then, I didn't understand what was happening and was simply hurt.
Mom is beautiful. Don't talk like that.
Emma quickly came to my defense, but Brian just clicked his tongue and left the house. His atrocious behavior wasn't limited to just words. There were many times when he ignored me entirely. Even if I woke up early to prepare a lunch, he would get furious if he didn't like the side dishes. What the? Don't put frozen food in there! You're slacking off. He even had the audacity to throw the lunch I had made into the trash can. That's awful. I only included one frozen dish. I woke up early to prepare the other side dishes.
Yeah, Mom's cooking is delicious.
Emma would always stand up for me, but it seemed like even that annoyed Brian. Emma might not understand this, but your mom isn't doing her job properly, and that's why I'm advising her.
That's not true. Mom is doing her best. It's Dad who's doing the wrong thing.
Humph. You've got our daughter well manipulated, don't you? Looking at Brian, who was glaring at me with disgust, I saw no trace of his former kindness. We were a couple who seldom fought, and I was at a loss for what could have caused this change in Brian. There was also another thing that was bothering me. Brian, who was never enthusiastic about work, started coming home late, citing overtime, and even began working on weekends. Could he be having an affair? I had a bad feeling about his suspicious behavior, but I had no evidence, and a part of me wanted to believe in him. He was still providing for our family and was a kind father to our daughter, so I kept hoping that his current foul mood would pass and he would return to his kind self. However, one day something troubling happened. When I updated our passbook, which we were saving separately for Emma's future education expenses, I found that the money had decreased. Over the past half year, $500, then $1,000 had been withdrawn, totaling to $10,000. The only other person who could use this money was Brian. The money we've been saving for Emma has decreased. Did you withdraw it? Yeah, I lent it to a friend who was in debt. Who is this friend you're helping by taking on their debt? That's none of your business. Brian said this dismissively, showing no signs of remorse. Moreover, it was strange that he frequently withdrew money in several installments to lend to his friend. That money was for Emma's future. So what? It's my money because the account is in my name. Stop complaining. That's not right. I work too and have been depositing money into that account. Shut up. Brian suddenly shouted and threw the remote control that was on the table. It flew swiftly past my face. What are you doing? That's dangerous. Being a wife, how dare you boss me around? You should just obey me. In his excitement, Brian wouldn't listen to anything I said. Our relationship continued to become strained. How did things come to this? What should I do? Concerns about how to deal with Brian crossed my mind, and the idea of reconciliation seemed difficult. One night, as I woke up late, I heard Brian talking to someone on his cell phone from the balcony. Looking forward to executing it on our wedding anniversary. I was astonished by the following conversation. Is this a joke? Feeling a deep sadness at how his love for me had cooled off, at the same time, I felt a boiling rage. The next day, having confirmed Brian's betrayal, I decided to open the computer he always used in his study. I remembered the password as I had borrowed it only once a long time ago. As I nervously checked the contents of the computer, it appeared that Brian was indeed having an affair, and there were numerous message exchanges with an unknown woman. I was shocked when the reality I had suspected was placed before my eyes. Furthermore, from those exchanges, I discovered Brian's shocking plan. So that's what it was. Well, I have a plan too. Having learned of Brian's plan, I devised a strategy. As expected, a few days before our wedding anniversary, Brian suddenly started being nice to me. For me, who had been subjected to verbal abuse from him, it felt disgustingly weird, and I realized that he was about to execute his plan and was making preparations. Our wedding anniversary is coming up. Oh, you remembered? Of course. It's an important anniversary for us. I've been having some problems at work lately, and I've been cold to you. I feel bad about that. As he made the obvious excuse, Brian was arching his eyebrows dramatically. Is that so? Maybe I haven't been considered enough. I'm sorry. No, I appreciate you. Let's have a fun day on our wedding anniversary, just the family. I'm happy. Thank you. I'll make a feast. I was pretending to be deceived and acting happy, but I felt lonely. It would have been nice if this was true. I would have felt genuinely happy listening to my husband's words, and then the day of our wedding anniversary arrived. I prepared lots of dishes that Brian and Emma loved and waited.
Wow, it looks delicious. I can't wait for Daddy to come home.
Emma was overjoyed and danced while humming. I felt sorry for my happy daughter who didn't know what was about to happen. Eventually, Brian came home and presented me with a bouquet and a cake. It's not flashy, but I thought it's modest like you, so I chose it. Looking at the bouquet offered to me, my heart skipped a beat. Brian had made a good cover-up, but I knew that wasn't why he chose this flower. Could you put it in a vase right now? I understand. Thank you for the beautiful flowers. After arranging the flowers and having a pleasant meal, it was finally dessert time. The cake Brian bought was 3 kinds of cakes: chocolate, strawberry, and cheesecake. Seeing this, I intentionally spoke to my daughter. Hey Emma, I want to eat chocolate cake today. Could you let me have it?
But Emma always eats the chocolate. But okay, today I'll let you have it.
I did not miss Brian's sudden shudder as he heard our conversation.
Well, I'll have the cheesecake.
Emma, wait a second. When my daughter tried to take out the cake, my husband stopped her in a panic. He struggled to find a reason for his startled daughter. Well, the cheesecake seems to have a bit of alcohol in it. Emma should avoid it. The shop assistant told me so. Brian rushed to explain, quickly grabbing the strawberry cake before Emma or I could. His panic was almost comical. You're eating that? Yeah, I love strawberries. Huh, that's news to me, I responded. Meanwhile, Emma was elated, eagerly beginning to feast on her beloved chocolate cake. Upon seeing me select the cheesecake, Brian smirked and quickly devoured his portion. As I reached for my cake, he watched, swallowing hard. Hey, it's hard to eat when you're staring so much. Why don't you and Emma go bathe first? I want to savor my cake. Brian laughed it off and excused himself, taking Emma to the bath. All right, time to enjoy my cake, I announced audibly on purpose. When Brian emerged from the bath later and saw the remains of the eaten cheesecake, his face softened with relief. 10 minutes later, my chest hurts. Help me.
Mom, are you okay?
I began clutching my throat and collapsed on the dining room floor, feigning agony.
Papa, Mommy's foaming at the mouth and collapsed. Help!
A terrified Emma called to Brian, who was watching TV in the living room. Yet, despite the sight of me suffering, Brian remained cold and said, Don't worry, just leave her.
Papa!
With that, he left the house, leaving a distraught Emma with a fallen me. I knew instantly where he was heading. Upon confirming that he had indeed left, I stood up, just as I thought. Seeing her mother recover from the pretend episode so quickly, Emma was taken aback.
Mom, are you okay?
Emma, sorry, it was a prank. With that jest, Emma broke into a mix of laughter and tears. One after I tucked Emma into bed, the sound of the front door opening echoed. When my husband came home, he called my daughter's name to the room where the lights had gone out. Emma, are you there? I've brought Mama medicine. It's going to be okay now. From the shadows, I quickly moved behind Brian, tapping his shoulder from behind. What do you mean it's going to be okay? Ah! Brian shrieked in shock, apparently dropping to the floor from the surprise. Why are you still alive? Catching himself, Brian hastily began to make excuses. No, when I saw you collapse, I ran outside to call for help, but there was no one, so I thought I'd go and buy some stomach medicine. I see, how kind of you, right? I'm relieved to see you're feeling better. Seemingly under the impression he had successfully deceived me, his face relaxed. I was not fooled, however. You've got some nerve spewing such lies. So, where's this stomach medicine you bought? Did I forget it at the pharmacy? I could only shake my head at Brian's feeble attempts to lie his way out. And then, I silently pulled out my phone from my pocket and played a recorded audio file.
Soon I'll be together with you, and the money will come in. Is that flour really that dangerous? I need to make sure our daughter doesn't accidentally eat it.
Listening to this, my husband's face turned ashen. Where did you get this? About 2 weeks ago, you were talking to someone on the phone on the balcony late at night, remember? It was a suspicious conversation, so I immediately recorded it. But you ate the cake! You were foaming at the mouth and fell over. How? Of course, I wouldn't eat it knowing it was poisoned. I just pretended to eat it. I have kept the cake as evidence. The foam was meringue made from egg whites. I held up a cheesecake in a plastic bag to show him. You tricked me! It was you who tricked me, Brian. I knew all about your plan from checking your computer. Brian's plan was to present me with a bouquet and cake for our anniversary, pre-coat the cake with the poison from the flower, and attempt to take my life. It was a cunning plan where even if the police investigated, they could explain that the poison got into my mouth because I had handled the flowers when arranging them in the vase, and ate the cake without washing my hands. Suddenly, Brian approached me with the look of sheer malice. Hand over that evidence. Hold on. Even if you try something, it's nonsense. The police will be here soon, as I've already reported you. Plus, this room is under surveillance. Everything has been recorded. What? You're lying! Wait! Suddenly panicked, Brian clung to me in desperation. I'm sorry. I was persuaded by a woman. I didn't want to do it. Please tell the police that it was a misunderstanding. It's too late. But Emma is here. Are you okay leaving her without a father? It's better than her being with someone who would attempt to take a life. Please, I beg you, from now on, I'll be a good husband, a good father. Brian was now a pitiful sight, kowtowing with his forehead grinding on the floor, screaming while shedding tears and snot. But even seeing him like this, my heart didn't waver in the slightest. At that moment, the police arrived, and Brian was taken away, still screaming and crying. After that, both my husband and his mistress were found guilty of attempting to take my life. Of course, I divorced him, demanding $2,000 in damages and $10,000 in child support, which his parents kindly paid me. His family said they would make him work under strict surveillance and repay the money after he is released from prison. I also demanded $2,000 in damages from his mistress. Her parents paid me on her behalf, but I heard she was disowned. She was a new employee at Brian's company and was fired along with him. After paying for her crime, a difficult life awaits her. Emma and I have returned to my parents' house and are living a peaceful and happy life. To protect my daughter from getting hurt, I told her that her father went far away for work. Receiving all the love from me and my parents, my healthy growing daughter makes me want to continue raising her with all